Right?
Yep.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel, and welcome to Live Q&A, November 5th, 2018. I see we already have a pre-game super chat from Cy Red Eye. Thank you very much. I don't know what the pre-game is. There's no necessarily game that's happening. It's just Q&A right now. We are doing a live gameplay through tomorrow morning, so you can come back for that. Other live stuff this week, on Wednesday, we'll be doing crowd surfing live. And on Friday, we'll be doing a back talk live, where we'll be taking a look at our top 10 anticipated games for us in 2017 and where they are today. All right, so let's go with your questions. I'll answer them as best I can. All right. How many meeples total have you ruined for the opening of Board Game Breakfast? Oh, none. First of all, it's been a really long. I used to record a new one of those every week almost. I've now used the same one I think for 100 in a row. But I would just pour milk on them and immediately wash it right off. They're wood. Milk doesn't ruin them. Secondly, I'm using whatever milk my wife and kids drink, which is like skim milk or 2% milk. And if you've ever drunk that, you know that it's basically just water with a little bit of white food coloring. Doesn't hurt the meatballs at all. All right, let's see. Cool hat. Oh, I won't argue that. I like this one a lot. What was your favorite game from Essen? I refuse to answer that until ask me in March. I've only played 1% of the games that came out at Essen. There's so many games. I'm trying to play as many as I can. I played a lot of the big ones. In fact, I played some great ones. And I played one very popular game, extremely popular game, that my review of it will go up this week, which I did not like. And I think I won't be alone on that one. But I've also played two very popular games that I did like, so I guess it evens out. Did you check the Snakes and Lattes booth at Essen? I thought that was pretty cool. I didn't go by it. I went by it once and looked at it. And then I talked to the owner of Snakes and Lattes for a while. I ran into him elsewhere. I didn't even recognize him because he's had dreadlocks for such a long time, and he shaved them because he lived in Arizona for a while, and that kind of discourages you from wearing big, heavy dreadlocks. And I just talked to him about, the future of Snakes and Lattes and what it's like to open up the stores and stuff, franchise in Arizona and all. So it's pretty neat. Will you be remaking the top 10 horror games list? Well, not this year. We're getting a lot of questions about Dice Tower promos for the Dice Tower Kickstarter. As I keep saying this, and I apologize. I don't know how many times I'm going to say this. Everything is going out in waves. We have thousands of backers, and so they're going out as fast as we can. But if you haven't got yours yet, it's probably because it just hasn't gone out yet. Again, we can only send out so many at a time. So they're going out. A lot of them are going out. There's still many that are being sent right now. I will announce in a couple weeks and say they're all out. At that point, if you haven't got it, let me know. But if you ask me now where it is, it could be in the process of going out today, or it might have gone out yesterday, or it might go out in a few days, something like that. How likely is it that I can play a game with any members of Dice Tower on the cruise? 0%. Well, not really, but you should go in thinking it's 0% because it may not happen. So there's 6 people or 8 main people in the Dice Tower on the cruise, right? So if those 8 people play 20 games, that's a lot. That's 160. 20 games over the course of the cruise. 20 games times 3 opponents each one is 60. So 60 games per 8, that's 480 different people if every single one of us played with 3 different people every single time. And there's 500 some people coming on a cruise. So 20 people are out of luck. So that's just the way it's going to be. I will play with different people as much as I possibly can. If you come up to me and talk to me, I will definitely take some time to talk to you because it's the cruise. And that's not a problem at all. I just can't guarantee a game with everyone because it's not possible. But we'll try to play a game with as many people as we can. Shots fired at milk. Does this mean you're a whole milk drinker? Nah, I don't really like milk. I don't dislike milk. I just don't care for that much. I know milk gives you calcium in it and stuff. I've never really been a huge milk fan. It's okay. I hardly ever drink it. I get my calcium through other things. But yeah, not a big fan of milk. And I especially do not like putting milk on stuff. I never liked cereal for that matter. I never liked that you put milk on stuff and then your cereal gets all soggy, and I didn't like that. When, if ever, do you sleeve cards in games? Only when the game has a very few cards you're going to pass around a gazillion times, like in a werewolf-style game. That would be the only time I would sleeve them. Arkham Horror getting another edition soon. Knowing what you know about this new edition, will it dethrone Eldritch Horror for you? Well, not yet. I had to play it first. Will Restoration Games take on Hero Quest? I don't know. That seems like a question for them. For live Q&As and or whatever you meet people at conventions, what type of question topics do you enjoy answering or discussing more? Usually stuff I haven't talked about before, which of course it's not fair because the person asking me doesn't know what I've talked about before. But someone will say something, and I'll be like, ooh, that's a good question. No, let's talk about this. I don't know. That sort of thing always gets me more interested. Do you ever get starstruck meeting certain designers? No, I'm not saying I wouldn't, but I don't normally. Hey Tom, I'm building a board game cafe in 1 month. You've been my superstar ever since I stumbled onto your videos back then. So my question is, do I need to invest more board games or comfier chairs? You need to invest in good food. That's what I would invest more in. What's the most interesting publisher that has come onto your radar this year? Well, on one hand, I want to say Eggerspiel because, wow, Eggerspiel has changed now that Plan B owns them. But that's not really fair because Plan B... maybe I'll say Game Brewers. I think that they've been doing some pretty neat stuff. And I didn't really know much about them. I played some of their stuff before, but they really look cool. Have you unboxed and looked at Deep Madness yet? I have not. I can see it right over there on the shelf, and it is still in the box. But Z wants to play it. What video camera and lighting do you use? We use Panasonic cameras for our recording, and just various different lights that we have purchased over the years in various different shades and paths here in the room. Does Vassals Law apply to Heroscape? Well, there's some reasons that the Vassals Law does not always work. For example, Vassals Law, which, just to clarify to people, and it's not really a law, it's just that they made up, basically if a game is amazing and great, it will be reprinted. Therefore, if a game is not being reprinted, it's not as great as you think it was. I want to almost amend that to, if a game's okay, someone's going to reprint it at some point. But anyway, there are some times it doesn't happen. Star Wars Queen's Gambit will not be reprinted because of the licensing involved. If you can't get the licensing back, you can't reprint the game. And sometimes the game is just too expensive. The licensing also matters. Like Heroscape is still owned by Hasbro. People have looked into getting the license, and it's possible. But the amount of plastic prices have gone up so much that such a game could not be conceivably made today for the same price. When and where are you going to post a question for the Dice Tower cruise contests? I apologize, I don't know what that means. Maybe I'm forgetting something. Do you mean like the questions that I use to make the game shows for the Dice Tower cruise? If so, I don't usually do that until closer to the time. What are some of your favorite musicians and bands? I have a whole pile of favorite musicians and bands, but then it says, have you been to any memorable, exciting concerts? I have never been to a concert, ever, for anything, which is a bummer. When I was in college, they brought in fine art stuff, and I went to that. But I've never been to a band or concert ever. I wouldn't be opposed to it. It just has never come up. I can't really afford them. And I guess I say I choose not to afford them, because we choose what we can afford and not afford in our life. And they're expensive. Why is Magic the Gathering on Boardgamegeek and the top 100 when it is a card game and not a board game? Is it because of the designer? Boardgamegeek includes card games. There are many, many card games. And besides, when you try to differentiate between a board and card game, it gets super confusing after a while. So, yes. Humans are the only animal that drinks milk from a different animal. Well, I don't know that that means anything. Humans are also the only animal that sits around and plays video games. And they're the only people who play Gloomhaven. So. Tom literally just grabbed me and my wife at the shelves first year and asked if we know how to play Le Havre. If you hang around, you'll probably get a game with someone from the crew. Well, it's possible. Remember, to catch a game with me early in the morning, always a good time. And I remember that game, Nicholas, if I'm correct, that may be the worst score I've ever seen someone get in Le Havre. I might be getting that game wrong. Possibly. If so, I apologize. Maybe you won amazingly. How come you wear a tie when your job is so laid back? Because I like wearing ties. I do. And, let's see. When I look at the screen, I always adjust things the opposite way. But I don't know that my job is laid back. I try to be laid back when I answer questions and stuff. But I work really hard when I come in. I came in today with an agenda. I have it right here. Okay, these are the things I need to do this week. And as you can see, I've only checked off this many so far, but I am checking them off. Oh wait, I did that thing right before the live Q&A. Oh, I didn't even put the live Q&A on here. Live Q&A. Done. Yeah, but and this isn't even everything I have to do, but I'm trying to get as much stuff done today as I possibly can. Tomorrow's going to be a busy day. There's voting tomorrow, and there's a lot of other things we got to get ready. There's Kickstarter stuff. There's always things to do, and so I'm trying to get as many reviews done today as I can. Who among the Dice Tower will be at PAX Unplugged? Most of us, actually. The main crew will be there. Me, Sam Z, Derek, Eric, Kenny, Mandy, Suzanne. We'll be posting our schedule for PAX Unplugged really soon. For someone who stupidly sold off all their Heroscape stuff years ago before they were big in the hobby, what's the best way to get back into it? I would just keep an eye on garage sales, Craigslist, and other places. You'll be able to get it eventually. I'm a professional videographer, and I'm going to Gen Con next year, and I want to shoot a short documentary. Would you allow me to interview you there? Possibly. There's no way I'm scheduling that now, though. Gen Con's still a whiles away. What do you suggest to people? Sometimes. Did you see Bohemian Rhapsody? No, but I probably will, because I really like Queen music. Outside of the industry, who's the person that's influenced my life the most? My wife. Why do you think Magic the Gathering has prospered so much over the years and other trading card games with arguably stronger IP have fallen so quickly to the Magic the Gathering juggernaut like the World of Warcraft card game? Well, I don't think the World of Warcraft card game has died. It's just called Hearthstone now. But yeah, I think there's something to be said for being first. If you look in gaming, first often does extremely well, especially in board and card games. First, it's always hard. It's hard to topple first. Secondly, they have an extremely strong brand, a team that works really hard. They promote it strongly. I mean, they do everything right, I think, when it comes to that sort of thing. They've made mistakes over the course of the years, and there was a period of time in the early thousands that the game almost fell to pieces. But with Mark Rosewater and other people, they've really done a good job at doing their best to stay on the top. A lot of games are getting reprinted that weren't that great to begin with. What law is that one? It's the law of money, and publishers need games to reprint, and they can't find any, so they're just grabbing anything they can get their hands on. Have you fully recuperated after that terrible hurricane your area suffered a few months ago? Well, fortunately for us, it did not even come close to us. We didn't even have rain. That hit the panhandle of Florida, and it did so very badly. So how did the games you review get split between you, Z, and Sam? Like that huge stack from Essen? We just start grabbing games and reviewing them. Let's see here. Do you have any comments on what the podcast Cheapwee's Playground is doing? I don't know anything about Cheapwee's Playground. I apologize. I've never heard of them before. Maybe they're a new podcast? Does Chief Sokoto have a law just like Vassals' law? Chief Sokoto has 13 laws named after him in the Ixka galaxy alone. And he's had it's kind of a weird question, but none that are really named after him, other than maybe the law of cosines, probably. All right, is it getting hard to keep up with so many game conventions nowadays? Sure, but just make a conscious decision that you can't go to all of them. I mean, very few people go to all the conventions anyway. Even some of the publishers, they try to go to as many as they can. Some publishers go to a lot of conventions. They go every week. That would not be good for me and my family, for me to be gone all the time. It was nice this past weekend to be home with my family the entire time. I really enjoyed that. So I can't go to all the conventions. So I just don't. And we're cutting conventions out next year. We've already, so far next year, this is what we are going to. Dice Tower Cruise in January. Dice Tower Con in July. Gen Con in August. Oh, UK Games Expo, probably, in June. And Essen. Those are the only ones that I am guaranteed to go to for sure. And even UK Games Expo is not set in stone, but probably. And everything other than that, Dice Tower West. Sorry, anything that's Dice Tower, obviously, we're going to. How interested are you in Keyforge? Voila! Deck. Okay, that's probably, let's put them back in here neatly. So the answer is, I'm interested. I know a lot of people keep asking me about Kickstarter games and like where they would fall on my top list. I can't really gauge that because I have to go by what I think of the game with the components and everything included. So I always have to wait till it's finally published before I do that. Since you were just at Essen, did you notice any undesirable design habits trending lately? Design habits, there's a lot of people stealing, but that's not a design habit. No, I think everyone and their brother's doing a roll and write game, but I don't know that that's a bad thing. It's just something a lot of people are doing. What would your perfect Saturday night look like? Well, my perfect Saturday night is different whenever I feel like it. I've had so many great Saturday nights in my life. I would never pick one perfect one. They're all good in different ways. And if I did the same one, I might think one thing's perfect one time and something else is perfect another time. Is there a theme park in the U.S. you would like to visit but have not yet? Oh, sure. So many. I just don't have time to go to all of them or money. I want to go to Kings Island. I haven't even been to Busch Gardens in Tampa yet. What's your favorite activity to do with your kids outside of playing games? Monster chasing. Oh, going to amusement parks. Actually, last week we went to Santa's Enchanted Forest, which is a little fair thing that opens up here in Miami every year. It starts November 1st and goes to like January 5th. And it's just there's Christmas lights everywhere. It's a small little fair. All the rides are fair rides. I hate most of them. But my kids like it a lot. We have a lot of fun. Hi, Tom. What kind of games do you like watching other people play? I like watching people play games a lot. Do you think there'll be any more content for Descent, or is it a dead game? I think they're working on Descent 3rd edition. I might be wrong. If you have any questions about the cruise, you need to email Jason, and I'm not answering them here because I would, if you ask me, I'm just going to go to Jason. Do you guys never talk about work ratio in between the team? I mean, it's clear that you put out the most content out by everyone by a long shot. I assume the others do a lot more editing instead. The others do more editing. You got to remember that it's my podcast, my video show, so obviously I'm going to put a lot of more work into it than everyone else. It's kind of like, and if you have your own business, you can't expect everyone to do the same amount of work you do if you own a small business. You're just gonna naturally do it. It's your small business. It's something I think about all the time, and I just put out things really quickly and work hard on them, and the guys work hard and everything, and so if there's any talk, I mean, it happens. We talk about different things that we're doing, but that's fine. When are we going to see an expansion for Mechs vs. Minions? You have to put some pressure on Riot. Yeah, well, the day I can put pressure on Riot and anything happens. More specifically, I don't know. I talked to them about expansion. They said, if we feel like we need to put out expansion, we will. But we don't feel that need right now. So, who knows? A lot of people complain that you don't do many negative reviews. Are you still objective with your reviews? You cannot win on this one, Mr. Preston. I promise you that, right? I feel like I do more negative reviews than any other reviewer. I might be wrong, but I feel like I do more negative reviews, just as a natural matter of course that I do more reviews than any other reviewer, so my negative ones are going to count up there. But it's not enough. It doesn't matter. And every single time I do a negative review, I didn't play the game correctly, I got something wrong, I'm an idiot, I'm a moron, I don't like that kind of game, blah, 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 and I'm too negative. You cannot win for trying on this one. I don't do many negative reviews. Who does then? Who does a ton of negative reviews? And if they did, why are they gaming? If most of my reviews I did were negative, I'm in the wrong hobby, I think. I do a lot of negative reviews. I don't do a gazillion of them. Oh, I also avoid a lot of bad games, right? But yeah, I definitely do negative reviews. You should write a book about your philosophy, like what you just said. We choose what we can afford. I take the wisdom you give and apply it to life. Well, I gotta be careful. I gotta be careful about what I say in regards to life and wisdom and all that jazz. Be cautious. I'm not trying to put things down. I'm just saying that things I notice when someone says I can't afford such and such a thing. There's often a lot of truth in that, but there's often sometimes lies in that, because you can afford something, you just choose not to. Like I'll say, hey, let's go to the movies, and my friend Billy will say, I can't go to movies with you, I can't afford it. But I know Billy went to McDonald's twice that week. Well, he could have not gone to McDonald's and gone to the movie. He chose that. Now, granted, there's some things Billy can't afford, for sure. He can't afford a private jet. He can't afford first-class trip to France or what have you. But many times there are many things we can afford, we just choose not to. Just like when we say, I don't have time to do this. Yeah, we probably mean I'm choosing not to make time to do that. Like if I said I don't have time to play the piano. I got time to play the piano, but instead I'm doing other things. When you review games, do you play the whole game or do you play a few turns to get the gist of it? Oh, wow, I could get a lot more games than if I just played a few turns. That's a good idea. I don't do that. Unless I really, really, I mean, unless everyone like hates on the game so much that we jettison it, but that is a very, very, very rare event. Any tips on picking up rules of board games quicker? The only way I can recommend is to play more board games. There's really no way I know of to pick up the things earlier. What's the hype behind all the games ending with Island, Fireball Island, Spirit Island, Dinosaur Island, Treasure Island, Adventure Island, Coral Island? I guess there's just a lot of games with Island in the title. It never even occurred to me till you asked that question. What advice do you give someone wanting to get in the board game industry late in life? Well, I mean, get involved. Get involved in a small way and get known and slowly build your way in. You know, if you like bulldoze your way in, like I got a game that's an amazing, or I want to help you, you know, as a publisher, I'm ready to help work as a editor. Well, they don't know who you are. Most of the time, people do small things and slowly build their way into the industry. Hello, Tom. I'm the designer of Rolling Ranch. I think Z just reviewed Rolling Ranch. What are your picks on the best roll and writes released in Essen Spiel? I don't believe I played a single roll and write from Essen. I have one of them. I'm not going to say which one it is on my pile that I'm taking home tonight to look at. So maybe that will be the first one. What's your favorite Lovecraft Cthulhu Mythos story? I hate the Lovecraft Cthulhu Mythos. I really do. I like it in games, but as the stories, bleh. When you, Sam, and Z rate a game differently, how do you determine the official Dice Tower score? The one that shows up in a Dice Tower is always the highest score. Are you hoping to come back to Toronto next year after the Gathering of Friends? Actually, I'm planning to skip Toronto next year. When we probably will go to the Gathering of Friends. That's a small private convention, which is why I don't talk about it much. But we get a lot of games played there. But the Toronto trip last year was so exhausting. It took all day. We sat in traffic for 3 hours up and then sat in traffic for 3 hours back. And I just didn't find that as entertaining. It was fun to go there. And we had a good time. Saw the new Snakes and Lattes. It was a neat place to go see. But, yeah, probably not going to pull that off this year. Will there be a Dice Tower West next year? Yes. And if so, will there be more tickets? Probably. But we're building this slow. We don't want to have more tickets than we have people. When, in your opinion, do you think the modern board game hobby started? I tried looking through your videos, but could not find the one that you mentioned it. Well, it all determines on when you consider the modern hobby and what it to be. I mean, was it when Sid Sackson made a choir back in the 60s? But there really wasn't a modern board game hobby. There wasn't a lot of people playing board games like together for fun other than, people coming at my house at night and playing Password and stuff. And there wasn't like groups of people getting together playing games other than like the Avalon Hill war games and such. Now, I'm not talking about Germany. That was going on in Germany itself, people playing games. And at some point, the people who were getting together playing games that were playing mostly war games and things like that, when did that transition? There's no hard and fast date. But for me, I would always say 94, 95, because there was the back-to-back. There was three main factors. I always tell people there's three main factors in the growth of the current modern board gaming hobby. One was Settlers of Catan, now called just Catan. And that was a very popular game in Germany, but also came over to America and was extremely popular and kind of opened the eyes of a lot of people like, wow, what is this game? The second one was Magic the Gathering, which completely transformed our hobby into a hobby that could make money and brought millions of people in playing this game, Magic. Many of them went to board games, also just transformed designing in general. And the third thing is the internet itself. Before the internet, you met people through magazines and newspaper ads or just going to a local store and hoping to find them. With the internet, you could find people, and you could also find out about games. I could find out about the games that came out in Germany as soon as they came out. And the communication started growing and the globalization of the board game community grew. There are other factors as time went by. There are other big games. I don't know that any game had the impact that Catan and Magic did. Well, Dungeons and Dragons did earlier. So that's also would be a fourth one in my trilogy of things that changed the hobby. And Kickstarter certainly has changed the hobby considerably, and just general media and growth of the hobby. YouTube, I think, has had a huge effect on the hobby. I mean, I'm not saying Dice Tower. I mean, from tabletop and just the fact that you can go on and learn about games now. Have you played multiple Curse for Seventh Continent? Yes. Are you a coaster fan? I am. Yeah, Cedar Point is hard to beat for coasters. That's what I've heard. I think that they have 11 coasters there or something. I just have never really had a chance to be near there to go to that park. And then I don't know who I would go with. My number one coaster partner is Melody, and she's off in college. Kings Island. Yeah, I heard Kings Island is good. Do you have the same amount of vests as hats? I do not currently have the same amount of vests as hats. Is there a good place to let someone know if one of your reviews hasn't been linked on their BGG page? Just send us that at questions@dicetower.com and let us know. How is a winner chosen when you guys do a live contest? Oh, it's a random thing. We just randomly pick one. Yeah, you said you never win. Yeah, lots of people don't win. I apologize. We're going to be doing another contest very soon, so keep an eye out for that. There are a lot of games now with Dixit-style cards. Do you mean like that weird, funky artwork? Possibly enough to be considered a genre in itself. Can you think of a good name for that genre? No, and I can't even think of more than 5 games with that in. I mean, we got Dixit and Mysterium and Muse. What else is there? I know there's a few other ones, but there's not. There has to be at least like 10 games before I start thinking about that. Are you still involved in the ministry outside the Dice Tower? Yes, I'm the chairman of the deacons at my local church. In fact, I just preached a sermon, and you can find that on my Facebook page if you would like to see. I just preached it yesterday. But I did email Jason. Sure, well then email me. But don't ask me in the middle of a chat here. It's better that you would email me and ask me these questions. Let's see here. Are the publishers, designers of games generally civil with you after negative, lukewarm reviews? Generally, yes. Most publishers are very nice and cool, even after a negative review. Some, though, take it very personally, but usually they just don't talk to us. There's not a lot of, like, I've never had anyone, like, take a swing at me or come and yell at me. I've had a few designers come and try to drag me a corner and play the game with me properly, but I will avoid that at all costs. But for the most part, they just don't talk to us. And sometimes they even give us a stink eye at a convention. Can you remember the first review you wrote and published? Sure, it was Time's Up. What other games like City of Gears have come out but were not able to get the Dice Tower Essential seal like you want? Oh, Dice Tower Essential. Dice Tower Essential is a line of games I work on with Arcane Wonders, and I find games for them. There are a lot of games that I would like to be in the Dice Tower Essentials line but did not make it for one reason or another. Maybe Arcane Wonders didn't feel was right for the line, or maybe the designer didn't do it, or there's some other thing. It's not like a negative thing. It just doesn't always work out. I don't worry about it too much. Does it feel satisfying to probably have the only YouTube channel where people complain about 45-minute videos being too short? That does make me laugh. Especially in our like more recent ones, and then they're longer, and then people are like, these are too long, and everyone comes in and says, shut up! Did you try it alone? I haven't got alone yet. Thank you for the SN Live show. It was a blast. I'm thinking about getting any reviews. Do you recommend a format, blog, podcast, or video, or am I too late for a blog? You're never too late for anything. You just got to do whatever you are good at. I stopped writing because I'm not very good at it. Did you end up building your Gundam model? Yeah. Me and Holly built that together. I got another one that we haven't built yet. We need to get on. Was it hard? It wasn't that hard. Holly did all the building. I just cut all the pieces off the sprue. Man, do I hate that. Best Studio Ghibli movie? Spirited Away is still my favorite. With Princess Mononoke is a very close second. Those are my two favorite easily. I like everyone that I've seen. I haven't seen all of them, but I've seen a lot of them. But those two are easily my two favorites. Do you think it's worth owning Western Legends and Zaya? Sure. Do you think Western Legends provides a similar experience in an easier package? It's definitely a more streamlined game, but one's space and one's the Wild West. They're very different. Do you get your hats at a particular place, or do you buy them at different places when a hat interests you? The second thing, I look for them at various places. I'm always looking at hats. I don't go out of my way to hunt down hats usually, but if I see a cool hat, I'm like, ooh. Have you received any Transformers TCG stuff yet? No, I see that at my local game store every time I go there, and I keep thinking, no, maybe I should get it, and I don't. Will you be coming to Indonesia ever? I'd like to, but I don't know if that will ever work out. What don't you like about Cthulhu Lovecraft Mythos stories? They're too gnarly. I don't know how to explain it. When I read a story, even a horror story, it's interesting. Like Ray Bradbury's written some short horror stories, and you read them and you're like, ooh, 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 ooh. In Cthulhu, I feel like, I'm going to listen to this guy just ramble and use big, long words almost for the sake of using these big, long words. And he's building this feeling of dread. Great, there's a feeling of dread, but what are we dreading? What's going on? What? I don't even get this. It's making my head hurt. I don't like it. I don't know how to explain it other than it just feels like a big tangled mess. I want a story. That story can do dread. Like when I read The Langoliers from Stephen King. That's an interesting story. The plot, they're on this plane. They wake up. Everyone else on the plane has disappeared except for a few people. What happened? I'm hooked. In Cthulhu, it's like, there's some big masculine globular thing. I'm like, what? What's going on? What? Come on, this is a waste of my time. That's how I feel. I know a lot of people like it. I'm just not a big fan of it. It feels like Cthulhu wrote the books. How often are you strapped to get the right player count when playing a game for review? I just don't play the games if I don't have the right player count. I'll play something else. I always have a ton of games. Just once again, a lot of people are saying, when are you going to review whatever, and when I can. Remember, we brought back 100 plus games from Essen. And there was already 200 or 300 sitting in our house before that, and there's another 400 on the way. So we will get to as many games as we possibly can. I told you all the games I'm reviewing this week if you want to see that in Board Game Breakfast, except I did not mention one because I changed my mind and played it a lot over the weekend, and I'm going to get that one reviewed. Which penny press roll and write was your favorite? That's weird. Let's see here. Penny press. Wait, not penny press. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Penny press roll and write. Oh, no. Penny press is not the name of the game. It's the name of the company. Hang on. Boardgamegeek is still throwing me off because their pages look different. Well, what are those called? They're not called Penny Press. They're not called Penny Arcade. Penny Papers. Okay. The one I rated the highest was the Temple of Apikabu. That one was a 7. that I ranked that one. Penny Papers Skull Island, I rated a 6, and Penny Papers The Valley of Wiracocha, yeah, I rated a 4. That's the one I like the least. What's the best way to approach you at PAX Unplugged? Oh, just come up and say hi. I mean, I would probably not interrupt another conversation, I guess, but I mean, come up and say hi to me wherever I'm. And you know what? If I'm playing a game, you can come up and say hi. People are like, I don't want to bother you playing a game. Well, if I don't want people to bother me when I'm playing a game, I'll go play it in like a small room somewhere, I guess. It's okay to come up and say hi. We really want people to say hi to us at PAX Unplugged. What's more colorful, your board game collection or your clothes closet? I just actually got rid of a ton of clothes. I said, you know what? Let's get rid of all this double XL shirts and all this jazz. If I keep them here, I have a safety net for me to go back to if I gain weight, so let's get rid of it all. Also, my half of the closet was more full than my wife's, which seemed incorrect. It still is probably. And also I have t-shirts. My wife's like, why do you buy so many t-shirts? I was like, I don't ever buy t-shirts. I don't even know where these all come from. So I just got rid of a ton of t-shirts. They just pile up because companies give me t-shirts, and every convention I go to, there's a t-shirt from that convention. I can't keep them all. Do you participate in the Boardgamegeek Secret Santa Exchange? I started it, but yeah, I don't participate anymore because I don't really need games or want games. Because I was curious as to what you might wear next. Yeah, I'm curious when I wake up in the morning too. I'm always happy when I find that I have a tie. Like I thought when I got up today and I put on this outfit and I was looking for a tie and I was like, this tie works well. And I got this tie at a dollar store in... All right, it's really weird to fix your tie looking at a TV where everything is backwards. I got this tie at a dollar store in Korea. It wasn't a dollar. It was like a 5 and dime store, I guess. So I got it for like $5. And when I saw it, I was like, that's a pretty cool tie. I liked it. And now that I wore this, I was like, hey, this fits this outfit. My wife said I matched mostly. Have you played Roll for Adventure yet? No, because there was no English version of it, unfortunately. Tom, thanks for taking the time to short chat on the go at Essen Spiel. Did you manage to get all the games you wanted? Nope. I did not get the expansion for Feast for Odin or for Caverna. Very disappointed about both of those. I would have played both of those the week I got home. So very disappointed about those. I'd like to get them at some point. Are there plans to do the 12 games at Christmas again this year? Yes, there are. Since time stories don't seem to have a satisfying overarching story, would you still recommend playing them in order or just picking and choosing the good ones? I would just pick and choose the good ones. Now that Dice Tower has so many moving parts with Blender Breakfast and so many extra hands, do you feel like a lot of weight has been taken off your shoulders or considerably more added? Definitely weight has been taken off my shoulders and then I add more on. So I feel like I'm doing more than I've ever done before, but I have a lot of people helping me do a lot too. Is there a good Studio Ghibli board or card game? I don't think so. Do you think King Domino is accessible enough to be a good gift for my 4.5-year-old nephew? I don't know. I don't know your child or your nephew. You're going to have to just guess on that yourself. I don't normally recommend games for any specific kid for that very reason. Melody's doing well at school, for sure. Do you ever play print and play games? Never. Like, never, ever. With the thousands and thousands of printed ones, I am not in any kind of mood to print out a game and play one when there are so many that are in print. That's just for me. If you like print and play ones, that's fine. I feel like you would love visiting Israel. Well, sure, I would love visiting any country. Honestly, I'm always excited to go to a new place. Like when I went to Iceland, I was super pumped about that. If I find out I'm going to a new country, I'm like, ooh, this is going to be interesting. I wonder what this country is like. What's that rectangular hole with the slope in the gaming tool? You mean this one here? That we take this lid out? That's the bottom part of a dice tower. You can put a dice tower in here, and then the dice roll in and come down the slope onto the table. Did you send Seventh Continent to your dice tower library? I did. I sent almost all my good games to the dice tower library. Was there not a Tom Thinks segment on Board Game Breakfast? I thought there was. If there wasn't, I'm sorry. I thought there was. I noticed you don't mention Twitch anymore. Are you done with that? Well, we're not done with Twitch yet, but I'm thinking Twitch may not be for us. Do you cook sometimes? What's your go-to dish? Stew. Is Awkward Guess one of my favorite deduction games? Indeed, I really like that game a lot. Did my Tom Thinks not make Board Game Breakfast? I meant to put it in. What's the most common interaction experience with fans at conventions? Oh, just people coming up and saying hi and that they like the show. That's the most common one. What's the most unique we've had? I don't know. There's all kinds of unique things. I'm not trying to have a contest for most unique. We're just glad to talk to people and spend time with different folks. How many guests will attend your Thanksgiving this year? I don't know. I'm still talking to my wife about that. Have you ever been in an actual physical fight? When I was a kid. Is Rhino Superhero Battle worth buying if you own Rhino Hero? Sure, if you want a bigger and better version of it, I guess. Rhino Hero is fine. Super Battle is just a little bit more involved, and there's a lot more things that can fall over. How much board gaming do you do during Thanksgiving? I usually play games on Black Friday. Cyber Monday. Do people take Cyber Monday off? I don't. My first con's gonna be Dice Tower West. Hopefully I can find you. Well, you should be able to find me at Dice Tower West. Are you again frying a turkey for Thanksgiving? Of course. Fried turkeys are delicious. What's your choice of footwear for cons? Comfortable shoes. So these are the shoes that I currently are wearing. I bought these, and I'm actually not too thrilled right now that the bottom of these shoes seems to be ripping up a little easier than I had hoped. But the shoes themselves have like a gel inside them. I liked them so much I went and bought a second pair of them, which looks like it looks like the heels on these are not as strong as I like them to be. I do walk a lot on concrete though, so that's possibly it. And with me walking 10,000 steps a day, I'm walking through my shoes a whole lot more than I used to. But I like these a lot. And now that I walk 10,000 steps a day, going to a convention is like just a normal day for me. What do I need to say so you can read my comments on these live chats? I don't know. I just pick the things that interest me. That's how it works. Again, I'll speak to you specifically, Jonathan, since you asked this question. I don't normally do that. Like, for me, that's not fun. When someone comes to me and says, I need a game, I'm like, oh, okay, how about this game? But when someone comes to me and goes, I want a game that does this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this. Go! And I'm like, I don't know that that's fun. I don't know that that's fun for a lot of people, right? Because they're sitting there, and you, like, put these restrictions on. That's not what makes gaming fun. What makes gaming fun for me is for me to say, here's a bunch of great games. And you're like, ooh, that one looks interesting. Great, then learn more about it. Maybe that's the perfect one for you. But I can't do your shopping for you. All I can do is say, here's a bunch of games. Here's what's great about these games. And I would say, and please don't take this as a negative thing against you, Jonathan, because I don't mean it to be. These are easily my least favorite emails to get. I get them all the time. Someone will say, here's 5 games I'm thinking about buying. This is my family. These are the kind of games we like. These are the kinds of games we don't like. can you tell us which of these games is the best and give me pros and cons on each? I'm like, no, that's like a book report. I mean, we put out all this content on all these games. That's the whole point of the Dice Tower, is we put out all this content. So use it. Use these top 10 lists. Go, like, you're like, oh, what's a good game for our family? Hey, why not check out our top 10 family games? Or do you think we'll like this game? I don't know. Why don't you go watch our review and then you decide if you like it or not. I cannot choose for you. I'm not a personal shopper. That's like a very expensive thing, I guess, if you were hiring someone as a personal shopper. Is there such a thing? Anyway, we want to help as much as we possibly can, so we make all this information. But the personalized stuff is very difficult, and it's like a lot of work. You'll sit there and go, all right, well, they want this, this, and this. Okay, well, this might meet that. Oh, no, it doesn't meet that criterion. It just feels like a job, a chore. Dice have to pay for all the games you got Essen, or do most companies give you review copies? Most companies give us review copies. I mean, we get so many games that if a company doesn't give me a game, I'm probably not going to go out of my way to go hunt it down to get it as a review copy for that reason. I mean, we just have so many other games to look at. Doop-a-doop-doop-boop-boom. All right. Let's see here. Board game in German is Brett Spiel. Do you think people named Brett know they are named after a 2x4? I don't think that's how language works. That's like saying Tom. The first word there is two. No, that's not how that works. Would the Dice Hour ever consist at promoting community by participating in groups such as troubled teens or assisted living communities? Sure. With the Dice Hour, we help out and we try to do a lot of different things, but I don't know that we ever get pigeonholed. Someone's like, I don't ever want to get to the point where someone says, if you're not doing this, then you're not helping. Well, but we're doing this. We do a lot of different things, and we'll try to help out as much as we can. Is the History of Dice Tower series finished? I hope it never finishes. What's the best player count for 7th Continent? I like it with all player counts, actually. Are you doing Miami Dice review for Arkham Horror 3rd Edition? And when can we expect a review from you? When we get to it, and maybe. All right, let's see. I watch you at 1.5 speed on YouTube. Does that affect your view statistics? I don't think so, but I don't know. Is the wargame industry dying out in favor of a more streamlined gaming experience in the form of our modern board game? I don't know that the wargame industry, you mean like that made the Avalon Hill Hex Encounter wargame industry? Sure, that's dying out, but it just, everything's changing. The companies are changing. Columbia Games still exists. There's still Multiman Publishing. There's still several wargame companies out there. They just keep molding and changing. GMT still puts out games. Do you use aftermarket insoles for your shoes since you walk so much? Well, I normally have, but these really work well. What size shoe are you? 12. Well, actually, I probably can wear 11.5s, but I like my feet to breathe, so 12s work well. I think one of my feet is slightly bigger than the other. A perfect shoe fit for me would be like a 11.5 on one foot and a 12 on the other. I don't know. Was it just me, or were you and Z getting snippier and snarkier during your top 100 countdowns? Maybe. If you're wondering, like, are we like getting mad at each other during them? We're not. I think we were just being silly back and forth. That's all. We know people are watching. Have you read Watchmen? Yeah. Did you like it? No. It was too depressing. I like my stories to have like a hero and some sort of happy ending. I don't think everyone has to survive and so on, but I don't like Watchmen because I feel that the villain wins in this one and the good guys don't really do any. I don't know. They weren't very good. Maybe this is too much of a spoiler question, but the Pulsar 2849 missed your top 100. Huh. You'll have to watch them all to see. I don't actually remember what number I have it at, if it's on the list at all. We'll see. We got another 10 going up this Thursday. What is your go-to dish to bring to a potluck? It all depends. So, my wife usually does it, so I'm not going to pretend. Spaghetti pie is what we usually bring. Sometimes people tend to like that. Spaghetti pie is a fantastic dish if you never had it. It's delicious. So what it is you make the pie crust. You make pies. Your pie crust is made up of slightly hardened. They're not hard. They're like stuck together with eggs and stuff, like a crust of spaghetti noodles. And then inside you have some spaghetti, but there's a ton of meat and cheese. It tastes like a poor man's lasagna. Why did you choose not to charge to review games? I've seen other reviewers charge $100 to $300. I don't think anyone's charging to review board games, not that I know of. I mean, who's charging to review board games? I know most of the other board game reviewers. As far as I know, no one's charging money to review board games. Men don't wear outfits. You wear an ensemble. Girls wear outfits. Oh, I didn't know there was terminology for that. I have an outfit. My daughter has an outfit. What if we wear the same thing? Does it change? It's super confusing to me. That seems like a very odd distinction to make. What does it mean when something's sponsored, like your most recent back talk? Are you getting something in return? Sure. Sometimes a company will pay to sponsor a different show or things. We are trying to pay for all the different things that we do. We use our Kickstarter, which is still the vast majority of the money that comes in. But there's sponsorships that we are trying to get also. How do you manage to walk 10,000 steps every day? I just do it, right? I wake up at 6 on the dot, roll out of bed, put on something, and me and my wife go walk. We walk around our entire neighborhood, which is about 2,000 steps. Then I come to work and everything. I work for a few hours. I will pause. I'll make some phone calls, and I'll go walk 2,000 more steps. And then I'll do that 2 more times. It's about 8,000 steps. And then I walk another 2,000 steps just naturally. I have a standing desk here at work. I will occasionally sit down. I'm sitting down right now to do this Q&A. But for the most part, I'm moving around, walking around, and it comes out to about 10,000 steps. If I don't have enough when I get home, I'll just walk more. On Saturdays and Sundays, do the same thing. Wake up at 6, sometimes 6:30 if I'm sleeping in. Walk that with my wife. Sometimes I'll walk farther. If I'm on a Saturday and I have time, I'll walk to a local store, like a 5,000 step trip, and then walk back. That's 10,000 steps there. That's basically how I do it. Worst comes to worst, I might walk inside my house for a while. I've been thinking about getting a treadmill, but I'm not really sure I have a good place to put it. I could put it in a garage, but I don't want to walk in a garage. That seems boring and blah. But if I bring a treadmill into the house, it's going to take up a huge amount of space, and I'm not sure I want to do that. What do you think the Dice Tower could be doing better? Oh, everything. We could be doing everything better. I'm always striving to make things better. We have 2 main changes, major changes that I've just decided to do. Well, 3 major changes. 2 of them we'll be announcing during our Kickstarter. One change that we're doing next year is we're going to be dropping some more conventions and trying to concentrate on some specific conventions to make the experience better for everybody involved. But there's always things we can do that's better. Outside of board games, what was your last best purchase? You know, one of my best purchases I ever made was my tie clips. I don't have them here on me today because I'm wearing a vest. But there's these plastic things. You can buy like a whole pack of 10 of them. And they slip between your tie thing here and they button to your 2 buttons. And it keeps your tie attached to your shirt. And it works way better than a tie clip. That's amazing. Every once in a while I'll look at a something that we have at the house and I'll tell Laura, my wife, I'll say, man, this was worth getting. There's so many things we buy and we're like, oh yeah, that was not getting. But every once in a while I'll be like, wow, I've used this particular thing like 80 times. Now that you've asked me, I can't think of anything. But there's specific things you're like, yeah, this was a good, well, my kids bought this for me, but you know, that's a good mug. Is there a chance you can host Descent on the Dice Tower cruise? Maybe I could be talked into it. We'll have to wait and see. I have noticed that you're doing a few Kickstarter paid playthroughs lately. Is this a new trend? I do remember you said you weren't going to do these because Mark Street does these. No, Mark Street does paid previews. We do playthroughs. Now, I personally would way rather do the playthrough because I like playing the game. Especially for most of these, you'll notice we have the designer teaching us the game, so I don't have to sit there and worry about, am I doing it right? So playthroughs are fun. They're fun for us to do. We don't have to sit there and talk about it, and it doesn't really interfere with the reviews. We're not necessarily saying if we like the game or not, although every paid playthrough that we've done so far are games I really enjoy. I try to pick them ahead of time to pick games I think I will like playing, or I'll take a look at it to see if this is an interesting game. But yeah, they're fun, and it's different than something that Mark does. What are your views on Paul Dean leaving Shut Up and Sit Down? Well, I figure that it's time for him to move on from there. I don't know anything about that situation, but that sort of thing happens all the time. I wouldn't be surprised, and this is not a precursor. I'm not like hinting towards something, right? But there may be people who are part of the Dice Tower who decide to go on, and that's happened in the past. Chaz Marler went and started his own channel. He went and did his channel. Now he's with BGG. Dan King, Bart Brunching, Rob Oren. We've had people who have been on our channel who have left and gone on to other things. It's not like big stories. Sometimes maybe things don't work out. Sometimes the person just wants to go and do something else. I don't read anything into these going, oh, well, that's interesting. That's sad to see that person leave. Like it's sad to see Paul leave, Shut Up and Sit Down. But I'm sure they'll do fine. I'm sure that they've built to do well without him. Did you set the date for your top 10 of your top 100 already? I would love to see it live, but I can't find a schedule anywhere. It is the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. So we'll get that schedule, but that is definitely when it is. Why is there no official Dice Tower subreddit? Do we want one? I mean, we already have a Facebook group, and we have the guild at Boardgamegeek. I think it'd be exhausting to keep track of another set of forums. That seems like it'd be a lot of work. Oh, it's 2:30. Well, folks, I apologize. I'm going to have to end here. So that's all the questions we're going to take today. My apologies. We will try to answer some next time. I think Sam's doing a live Q&A later this week. So that you have that to look forward to. Crowd surfing on Wednesday, live playthrough tomorrow, and Back Talk, where we'll be taking a look at our Essen games, anticipated Essen games from last year, and what we think about them now. Well, that's it for this show. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. See you next time.